Hello, everyone. This is the regular planning commission meeting for April 30th, 2024. I do need to announce that because the agenda was not posted correctly according to the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act, we will not be acting upon any of the plans before us today. We will only be doing procedural items. We have with us today, let me see here, if Nelson's on.
I don't see Nelson.
Yeah,
Will's
Will's 379. Okay, so on Zoom with us, we have Wilson Vesey, our vice chairman. I am Wayne Beeler, I am the chairman, and here in the room with me, we have Peter Rye and Danny DeCoya. So we will begin with with our yearly reorganization. We did discuss this at the workshop meeting, and I think we did come to the agreement that I will continue as chairman and will continue as vice chair. Is there a motion to that effect?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, in
Yes.
consideration of your announcement, I would suggest that you do an amendment to the agenda first, to include number 1, the reorganization, and 2, the procedural items that you mentioned could be taken action on tonight, which would include the annual report and the 3 plan reaffirmations.
So we will do the amendment to the agenda first, I believe, which will include our yearly reorganization, the annual report, and the 3 reaffirmation approvals. Do I hear a motion to amend the agenda? Yes. Okay. Peter, second. Dan? Okay. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. We having problems with Will again today?
I'm not sure. Let me.
It's muted.
Yeah, I think there's something when you call in, you kind of have to like dial something a certain way.
Oh, okay.
Make yourself.
I believe Will is muted though.
Will, can you try unmuting yourself?
I believe he is, yes.
All right, Will, I'm gonna call you from my phone.
Yeah, he's on a phone, so he won't be able to unmute.
Hey, Will, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, doesn't work. It doesn't work. So thank you for calling me. I can hear you now. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you.
Fine. And did you hear the motion, Will?
Yes, I did. I tried to vote affirmatively. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So motion is passed. Next on our agenda is the Planning Commission reorganization, and with myself continuing as chairman and Wilson Vesey continuing as vice chairman, and Peter earlier gave us a motion.
I'll do that again.
Okay, and a second. Danny? Let's see here. Forgetting how to spell it. Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. We now have our officers. As I mentioned, we will not be able to take any action on the Castlewood plan tonight. Let's discuss a few things. But Jerome would like to introduce the project and discuss a few items among ourselves. I also see that Phil Rubino is here and he would like to add something.
Good evening. We had discussion over the last several decades, 35 years, with regards to this project in terms of its the road classifications and if they are going to be dedicated to the city of Reading. As I mentioned, this plan was previously approved, and the roads, internal roads, are Kingsway and Queens Court. There is also a factor with Glen Road, as it's being dedicated or being accepted by the city council at their upcoming meeting. So given those factors, I don't think we're going to be in a position to make any type of recommendation. County Planning Commission had indicated that they did not want to see this plan. I had discussions with both Michelle and Tim with regards to that decision, and this plan should be recorded one way or another, either it being recorded by itself as part of a revised plan of record, or as part of city council's ultimate acceptance of these roads by resolution or by ordinance. So it's going to be recorded. I have no factors. We did identify some items. They are mostly either housekeeping items or things that we need to see on the plan. I don't think that there's any complications with any of those. But that's all we have, and I think that Tim may have other things for discussion on this project, as well as Michelle.
Yes.
Go
Yes,
ahead, Tim.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Gelman. Yeah, just for a quick review for those who haven't been here for the last 30 years or whatever, this has been an ongoing attempt. There's been a petition by the Homeowners Association of Castlewood for the city to dedicate or to accept and open as public city streets the two streets that do occupy the entire subdivision of Castlewood. It's a cul-de-sac street. It's one way in, one way out, and Glen Road is the way you get in and the way you get out to Glen Road. The city, at least for the time I've been here for the last 10 or 12 years, to my knowledge, has always been pretty much positive with accepting the streets. There was a study done. They took core samples. They analyzed the makeup of the street, and it's in sound condition. It's acceptable from a physical standpoint and also from a political standpoint. The administration is very much in favor of moving forward to this. It's a street that's been, as Mr. Rubino could get into the details, it's been serviced by police and ambulance and all the rest of it for the years. The holdup has been the stormwater management. There is side swales that collect runoff from the subdivision and convey that to detention ponds as part of the subdivision plan that was built back in the 80s, when things were a little bit different back in the 80s. That's going back almost 40 years. So it's considerably different than what it is today. But we had to go through some studies and some back and forth discussions on whether or not it would be, first of all, appropriate or legal to accept these side swales along with the streets. Can you just take the streets and leave the swales? Well, something happened in 2018. The city obtained its own NPDES permit, just like we have our developers have to do NPDES permitting. Now the city had an NPDES permit, and in that, it regulated the city to maintain its own conveyance system, its own stormwater management. And if we accept streets, water runs off from the streets and it gets conveyed into the municipal system. And so that added a little more complexity to it. So we had to be sure we understood, first of all, if the city accepts the streets, do we also have to accept the stormwater management? And the word came back from discussions with the solicitor and the experts that, yes, we do. We would need to also inherit the management of the system. Now, maybe not all of it, because the detention ponds are located on private property. So there's no intent of the city to own the property or to own the area where the detention ponds are. But we inherently will be gaining the area where the side swales are. So we had to be sure that the swales would carry the flow appropriately, the way they were designed. So we had a study done last year, as Mr. Rubino was well aware. He participated in that and coaxing it along, and we got a report. And I'm not sure if everybody got the report, but I tried to send it out to Mr. Ludgate. And Phil Rubino, if you didn't get that, I'll make sure you get a copy of that. And in there, the report came back pretty good. There are some areas that will need some maintenance, repairs, nothing extravagant. It's just a matter of getting things up to where they should be in order to convey the appropriate runoff. That's the first item. Then the second item is what I want to talk about is after these immediate repairs are made, then we have to talk about future maintenance. The city is entrusted with this. This is our ultimate responsibility. However, we want to see that these side swales and the detention ponds and that sort of thing are still managed by the homeowners association as they are today. We want to see that continued as part of the agreement with dedicating the streets to the city. The city will take the streets. We'll get that onto the PennDOT's liquid fuel tax mapping, so we can collect liquid fuel tax for it. And then we'll be plowing and maintaining, fixing potholes, repaving when it's necessary, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And that's where we're at now with the Glen Road. I'll throw that in now just so you get a complete aerial picture of what's going on here. What we found out in the course of doing this work, and also the work that we're doing to put in guide rails, is that Glen Road was not dedicated. It's not on the official topographical survey for the city. So we have to do that in order to get the funding for the guide rails. And also in order to get the liquid fuel tax mapping, we have to demonstrate that these roads, Castlewood roads, also connect to a city street. So the status of that is on Monday, the 6th, City Council will be entertaining a public hearing. It's part of a 28-day public review period. Now that the ordinance has been introduced, we've got all the mapping. Planning Commission approved that. City Council's now in the process of going through what the third-class city code dictates as the procedure for dedicating streets. So the public hearing will be on May 6th, and I believe the next meeting is either on the 13th or it may go to the 27th. It'll be in the middle of next, May, when the city council will be able to officially act on that ordinance to open Glen Road. And that'll make it then a legal road then to open the Castlewood roads. Hopefully all that'll happen in May. So that's it in a nutshell. Specifically, what we're going to be looking for on this revision to the plan of record, I'm in favor of what Jerome said, to do both and. Public Works would like to see this plan recorded. And then I believe we'll be using this plan since it's got all the coordinates, and that we can use that then for also the dedication of these streets to the city's official topographic plan.
Tim, my only comment on that is I think this commission could give approval to the revised plan of record at the appropriate time, but I would not want to record the plan until city council agrees to the dedication, just in case. I understand everybody's in favor, but in case something would change that, we don't have to go back and change things again. And you would like to see a plan recorded, not just a resolution removing the note as to ownership of the road?
Yeah, I would because things have changed. They've been tweaked. So the survey, if you compared the survey of today that's being submitted, you'll see that it's a little different. We had to tweak a few things and make some little corrections. The city survey, we use Spot Stevens and McCoy, and Spot Stevens and McCoy and Ludgate Engineering have been collaborating to make sure everything fits together right. And so there's some, you probably won't notice it looking at it, but the surveyors will see it. There's also
And this could
another,
also be,
go ahead.
yeah, this could also be considered as an as-built plan being developed, but I think the revised plan of record is the appropriate designation.
Yeah, there's little things too. And like one of the things I want to talk to Tom Ludgate about, and we can even do it tonight. He refers to it on the original plan, and even on the plan that we're looking at today, the road that we're connecting to is not labeled as Glen Road. It's labeled as Over Glen Road. And that's a subject of confusion. I'm not exactly sure why it's still labeled Over Glen Road, since all of our documents that we could find indicate that that is called Glen Road, and it's about ready to be adopted into our system of streets as Glen Road. So
And whatever you want to call it is okay with us.
okay, good. I was hoping you would say that, Tom. Yeah, there is an Over Glen Road, and what we could find and what Spot Stevens and McCoy could find is it's that branch that splits off and goes down to North 19th Street, kind of down towards the viaduct. It's that branch of the road. It's that little switchback that goes down to North 19th Street. And someday, I don't know when, we will need to dedicate that because it's not dedicated either. But we don't need that one right now. We just need Glen Road. So I'm glad to hear you're okay with that. So we'd be
Yeah,
looking
no
for
problem.
that revision.
And I don't think there's any problem with recording the plan. As I understand Berks County's Planning Commission's feedback is that they just don't want to review this plan. It's fine being re-recorded. So and recording the plan or recording additional documents, I don't think it's gonna be a problem. I don't think, Phil, is there a problem with you guys signing some more documents?
No,
Yeah, so we're good with, and I had a chance to look over that Cedarville report, Tim, and it looks like there's some maintenance issues, maybe a pipe to be replaced, but nothing really heroic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's again, there's some driveways that have culverts, some driveways have swales. And the city just doesn't want to be in a position to have to dig up driveways to replace culverts or to clean them out. The homeowners association or the individual owners have been doing this and are doing a fair job of it. And the city wants to see that continue. And I think, Phil, I think that was something we had talked about that would be agreeable with the homeowners
Yes,
association.
when we started it, that has always been our contention, simply because it's different than almost everything else in the city.
Yeah.
And we want to do our share in this, and that's a simple thing for us to do. And I think once this is done, one of the things we've been talking about is getting a professional property management company in to make sure that that stuff is taken care of on a regular basis, whomever moves in or out of the community. So yes, that's fine with us.
Tim,
So-
oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to go to you next. So, as Mr. Rabin is saying, is that now we want to, memorialize kind of what Phil is saying here, and either put it as a stormwater management agreement, or maybe an amendment to the homeowners association bylaws or something. I don't know what the correct vehicle is for this, but we need to put that in writing so it's everybody understands.
I think the simplest thing would be if you just put it in with the paperwork that you're doing. Then whomever comes along, whatever from this point on, that's part of the agreement with the city, and they have to deal with it. And that's it. I think changing the homeowners association thing probably is a whole lot of money for not much, and not much is addressed in that to begin with. So I think it would be better if you put it in yours. We're going to put that in our book of information for the association, and whoever takes over after us, it'll be right there for them and they'll know they have to deal with it.
Yeah, Tim, my only concern with doing a management agreement is we're gonna have to record it against all the properties. So they're all probably gonna have to sign off since they're individually owned.
Are you saying if we go the route of a homeowners association?
No, if
Or-
we do stormwater management agreements, because these are facilities on individual lots, correct?
Yes, well, that's an interesting question. I would say most of it is in the right of way. Some of it though spills over. I bet if you went out there and drew the line, some of the culverts under the driveways might be on private property. I would say 75 to 85% of it is in the right of way. So it's adjacent to the owners. But
Right,
but some parts of it may spill over onto the private property.
And
But
if
you
there
would-
is a culvert on private property, then that would just be that person's private responsibility.
Well, yeah, but we want to make sure it's, if it collapses or gets clogged, it gets cleared because that's, part of the system. It's part of the conveyance. It's actually part of the city's MS4. So it's pretty critical.
So Tim, you want the property owner or the HOA to be responsible to ensure that even though the percentage of the culvert is in the right of way, that the homeowner has to is responsible for cleaning it?
Somebody does, yeah. In other
Yeah.
words, if we see that it's collapsed, no matter where it is, if that pipe under the driveway is part of our permit, and we're responsible, we need to serve a notice to somebody, either the owner or the homeowners association or somebody. In other words, we're delegating this responsibility to the owners of the subdivision.
Yeah, I would do a belt and suspenders. I would put it on the plan. I'd make a note on the plan.
Mhm.
And we may have to discuss this a little further, but my initial response is we're gonna have to have a stormwater management agreement. We can prepare one for all the properties and each owner sign it, accepting that responsibility, and then record it against each property.
Yeah, we were having a discussion on that with Deb Hoag, and I'm going, I don't know that Michelle's going to be okay with making a homeowners association because I think it would have to go against each of the homeowners, making them responsible, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I
I'm
don't know
dealing
how
with
else
this.
to deal with that.
I'm dealing with a similar situation in another jurisdiction. That the municipality has to apply for permits in the PennDOT right away for stormwater.
Yeah.
And we're having that applicant do an agreement that they're gonna be responsible for the maintenance. So I
And-
think it's gonna be a similar situation.
And I think if you look at some of that, not all of the properties have those swales in front of them. If you
No.
look up at the upper end of Queens Court, there's nothing on the one side that you couldn't possibly put anything there. So
Right.
it doesn't affect every property. That is correct.
Yeah, some properties convey more runoff than others. Others are a little higher up and it kind of flows to the other side of the street. And some driveways don't even have swales because of the way they lie with the topography. So it varies.
Can
But-
we get a list of the properties that this will affect?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Although if you look at it, it shows that there's swales going all the way up on both sides.
Yeah.
I don't,
Right, but would the individual responsibility be to the roadside swale or just the culverts? Because the
Everything.
roadside swales is part of the HOA.
Do we have that in writing that the HOA is gonna be responsible for, or maybe we make the HOA a party to this agreement and designate that they're responsible for the swales, and then the property owners are responsible for the individual culverts or driveways.
Yeah, and I can give you guys a list of those owners or the lot numbers, whatever, for the ones that have driveways.
driveways with the
culverts, let's
culverts.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, you know what? We have not, I don't know that we've seen the HOA. So you're saying in the HOA agreement, it does mention some stormwater maintenance
So
specifically?
right now, the HOA deed, I'll call it, is the road right away. So right now, that road right away is owned by the HOA, so they have swale responsibility today because they have underlying title.
Okay, so that's going to be amended then, because that's going to transfer to the city
Right.
except for the stormwater management. So you'll be amending, I guess, Phil, you'll be amending the HOA to correct that, to make it, the maintenance, what we're proposing here. Is that correct?
I
Yeah,
don't know
I
what,
mean,
I don't know how it'll handle, Tim. Yeah, but at some point, there'll be some kind of document that outlines that, or documents plural.
Yeah, and I think we can either do one large stormwater or one complex stormwater management agreement, or we can do two. One with all the property owners rather than do individual property owners. And the second one with the HOH regarding the swales. HOA.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So we can work this all out between now and May
Yeah.
28th.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Michelle, do you agree that maybe we should be looking at the HOA agreement then too? So there isn't confusion as to who's responsible for what?
Well, I think as far as the city go, I mean, it would be good to see a copy, but I
Mhm.
think as a condition of the city accepting this, that the HOA would have to sign the agreement for maintenance of the swales.
Okay.
Very good. Does anyone else have any discussion on this matter?
There's not an intent to dissolve the HOA here, is there?
Phil,
Phil?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I didn't understand if somebody was talking.
Is there an
about-
intent?
Huh?
Is there an intent to dissolve the HOA?
is there an intent to dissolve the HOA?
I still didn't hear that.
Phil, it's real, it's very
Is there-
simple. Is there an intent to dissolve the HOA?
Is there, I'm sorry, say it again, Tom.
Is there intent to get rid of the HOA?
Oh, no, we weren't planning to get rid of the HOA because we figured we needed that to maintain the swales.
Right.
So there was
Okay.
never a plan to get rid of the HOA because when we went into this originally and talked to the very first people, we said we were willing to take that on if you were willing to take over the street. So, you know, whatever you think is going to be best to accomplish this, you know, we're willing to cooperate because at some point, we know we're going to have an obligation in this, whether it be the swales or the piping under the driveways, whatever.
And Mr.
Right,
Rubini,
it's-
I'm sorry, will you be having the conversations once we get the list of property owners affected? Explaining to them that they'll need to sign a stormwater agreement?
Yeah, I think what I would do is coordinate with Tom and make sure that we're talking to the right people and so forth, and then we will be letting them know what the story is on this.
Okay,
So, I just happened to do a street view of Google at Queens Court, and it just landed me in front of an address where there was a relatively new driveway. And the pipe underneath the driveway is non-existent, and the whole area is stoned over. And, you know, so the swale is interrupted. And this, I don't know how old this picture is, but it looks like brand new paving on the picture anyway. So, you know, herein is a problem that, you know, homeowners take some license to modify something that they don't perceive to be necessary or allow it to grow in, or you know, erosion to occur, or sediment to fill in, and these things become non-functional. Yeah, there. So, you know, passing that problem essentially onto the city, you know, I think that we need to have a good agreement with homeowners that holds them accountable to maintaining a system. That's just my concern, that this is, you know, naturally what happens, that homeowners will make modifications, not knowing any different. when it wasn't the city's problem, then it is what it is, but if it becomes the city's problem, especially under this NPDS permit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, we expect that the homeowners will, understand and do the right thing, but if they don't know, if they're not familiar with things, they could do things like rebuild their driveway and fill in a swale or an area where a culvert should be, just like out of ignorance. And that's why we want them to be aware of that. And if that does occur, yeah, we want the homeowner or the HOA to be responsible for correcting that. And if you're looking at something, Peter, on Google, and it looks like it's not what it should be, if it happened prior to last May, it should have been caught on the stormwater assessment report, the field report, because they did 2 or 3 days in the field. They certainly would have caught something like that.
Yeah, and there have been no changes. Nobody's redone driveways or anything like that. I mean, they might have had them seal cracked or, that type of thing. But nobody has done any construction type things that I'm aware of or have seen.
Okay, anyway, that's just a concern.
And Tom, I just had one other request. If you could send the legal description for the right of way, and we'll send that off to SSM just to make sure we've got the right legal description on that.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Anyone have anything else? Okay, thanks for joining us, Phil. We really appreciate it. And also, Tom, I know you guys have been working on this for many years. And looks like we might be able to get this straightened out by the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much, and we will see you next month.
Okay, and thank all of you for your time and effort that you've put into this. This has been a long journey for all of us, and just thanks to all of you, and we'll get it all resolved.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next up is our draft Planning Commission annual report for 2023. I'll hand it over to Jerome for an update.
Yes, this was updated and revised and resubmitted to you. This we'll call this draft 2. The only thing that we were missing for draft 2, and this was this also addressed the comments that were sent to me either by email or just at our last meeting. The only thing that needed to be filled in is the resolution numbers, and Wayne has successfully prepared all the resolution numbers for 2023, so we can insert them. I'll do it this year, and then we'll move forward. The reason why we timing is the essence. We're gonna date this, the third draft or the final draft, as April 30th tonight, and it's gonna go to City Council. We're going to be doing a presentation. Both Wayne and Simon and myself will be at council on May 6th at 5 p.m. To do the presentation of this report. Wayne's done a fabulous job with the presentation in the past, so we should be in good shape. I'll reissue it with today's date. I think we'll need some action, Michelle, on this or as an administrative action.
Yes, since this is administrative and we amended the agenda to include that if the commission is so inclined, they can vote to approve the planning commission report to be presented to council.
So do we have a motion to present the planning commission report to council on May 6th with the addition of the resolution numbers that were prepared today?
I'll move it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll take Will. Okay, and second, Peter? Okay. Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have that ready. Did you have anything to report under number 7, Jerome?
6.
6, yeah. I'm ready for 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If you have any updates on that.
Okay, the zoning map revision.
Yeah.
The zoning map revision was submitted to the Berks County Planning Commission by the city clerk's office. It was included within a packet. And they have not responded with their review. This is going to be on city council's a future agenda. Don't know which one it's going to be, but we can take action officially on this on May 28th after the Berks County Planning Commission has conducted its review.
So there's really no action to be taken since we did.
Yeah, unless you feel that you want to proceed with the with action on this. I do not know when this is on city council's agenda. And I would imagine that it's going to take some time, so we have to post the property.
I think they're waiting on planning commission to take action first, and then they'll place it on their agenda.
Okay, and we're gonna have to post the property and
Yeah,
do all sorts of fun stuff with the advertisement, so I would say take this.
Okay, do I hear a motion to table the zoning map revision? Danny? Second? Peter? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're ready for number 7, for any updates Jerome might have.
Sure. For the zoning and saldo amendments, there was just a minor tweak to the phase 2 zoning and saldo amendments, in which I provided you on April 2nd and March 30th rather. Those were the final drafts for the phase 2 amendments. There was also a tweak to the phase 1 amendments. Since they were not adopted, it was determined that the change of use provision under section I believe it's 610 B5, which I sent to all of you. And we sent that to the county as well, since it was a tweak. And we just want to make sure we do everything legally. We sent those to the county recently. We have not received any comments at all regarding the phase 1 or 2 amendments. So we can table these as well.
I do have a question. It's gonna be another zoning amendment. Me, Shannon, Ruth and I have been working with the EAC to draft up a beekeeping ordinance. The final draft, it was just taking one section out and revising it to add something else. So that was pretty much done today. Just waiting for the final draft. The EAC will then, at their May meeting, adopt that ordinance, and then to then be put on the agenda probably for June for planning commission, and then to send to BCP. So I don't know if we should put that in one of the phases, or that should be a standalone thing. What would you recommend?
We should we might want to just call that phase 3 because it would be confusing.
Okay.
Let's discuss it internally with staff. You haven't seen anything yet, so you need to see a copy of it anyway.
Yeah,
So the sooner the better you can get the draft to the planning commission members.
Yeah, the final draft, so, what, they said that they needed to adopt it first before they sent it to planning commission. So basically, it's like how you guys do it before you send it to council, they're doing the same thing. But I could loop you guys in once we get that final draft.
I think even if their meeting is before ours, we could still make the recommendation to send it to BC, to First County Planning Commission. And save some time if they're ready.
Okay,
Also with the phase 1 and 2 amendments, although it's not on here, is there's going to be a meeting on May 8th, I think that you have received by email. May 8th at 11:30.
The invite said 11:30 PM though.
Or 11:30 PM. The purpose of this meeting is to just provide an introduction to the zoning amendments for phase 1, 2, and 3 to the planning commission and zoning hearing board members. Since the planning commission members and zoning hearing board members deal with these amendments the most, it was just Jamal thought it would be a good idea to get both groups together informally for a discussion. No actions will be taken. And it'll just be to make sure that everyone understands what's in those amendments. So yeah, that's all we have on that one.
would we need to advertise or anything for that meeting? If there's a forum, or are we limiting how many from each?
I failed to get in contact with Michelle on if that is a requirement for a meeting. Just looking at if it's going to be discussions on certain issues, it might be a good idea to advertise that meeting. But I think Michelle will have the final recommendation on that.
Yeah, we could talk, but that would probably be my recommendation as well.
Would it need to be just on the website or in the newspaper
In the newspaper.
as well? Okay, because then if that meeting is the 8th, that's next week.
Yes, so we would need to get it to the paper at the very latest on Monday, the 6th, to run on the 7th.
Okay.
But I'll try to contact you tomorrow.
Okay,
It's a requirement, just a 1 day prior publication. So
Michelle, is it just 1 day prior?
Yes, because we'll call it a special meeting, so 24 hours. We have to do at least 24 hours. It's always better to do more, but as we said, the latest, it has to be on Monday.
And then there is one other item on number 7, and that is McDonald's Restaurant, 9th and Spring Streets. This was a highlight at our workshop session for discussion. It was a very good discussion. Staff also kicked it around a bit as far as its review of this plan. It was determined that some tweaks possibly may be needed for the points of ingress and egress, and also internal application. As you recall, there was 3 service lanes, and also the area that was designated for reserve parking, or in case there's overflow parking. The city staff had determined that it should be an emphasis of this project to include the playground.
yeah, but did we hear though that they're not doing playgrounds anymore?
yeah, I think they said only 5 out of their 50-some stores have it, but there has been very robust interest in having the play area, so.
And if you might remember the one on Fifth Street Highway. In Muhlenberg. They were pretty much dead set against it until a whole. Parents Association got together and went to either planning commission or zoning board meeting, I forget exactly what. And they wound up with the playland.
Well, I have been assigned the zoning permit, for the rebuild and everything, so I'll be reviewing that, and hopefully I'll have it done either end of this week, beginning of next week. They're gonna have to go in front of the zoning hearing board anyways, and with their redesign of it, Maybe they'll add it, but we'll see.
Yeah, and the reason why this is being brought to your attention is because the staff didn't want to do an end around and run around you. They just wanted to complement your reviews with their thoughts as well, and they thought that this was essential.
Redesign is to accommodate the new mode of utilization of the restaurant that is drive-through, right? In other words, fewer people are stopping to go in the store. They just want to go in and out. And that's the whole site revision is for that purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah. I believe when we did Lancaster Avenue one, they said that 85% is drive-through. 85%.
that was the same, that was kind of the same that they had stated that a bulk of their revenue came from drive-through, which is why they only have like, what, 20 seats inside or something like
Yeah,
that.
and the other thing about that particular McDonald's is that they have a pickup window. So if you live in the neighborhood, you can just go to the pickup window. That's also where the Grubhub guys get DoorDash and those guys where they pick up their stuff.
So it's just another point for conversation.
Yeah, so it'll be included as that's part of the staff's recommendation.
Briefly about the Glen Road dedication, none of this requires any. Okay, so we are up to number 8, the reaffirmations. Reaffirmation for Mercedes South.
That's also known as 108 South Fifth Street.
Yeah, they had barely missed that 90-day window by like 2 or 3 days, so they just need for your affirmation to report.
Oh, this is the
The
one
internal,
where the pharmacy is right
Yes.
next to the library. Okay. Very good. Okay,
And
do I hear
just-
a motion to
Mr. Just for the commission's information, since these plans have already been through the plan approval process, we think this is an administrative duty and we have no we believe it's appropriate to reaffirm them tonight.
Yes, and that's something that Michelle and I discussed this afternoon, since this is an administrative thing, because we're not actually approving the plan, we already did that. Yeah.
You're good, I'm good.
Okay, very good. I'll take Peter as the, making the
I'll make a
motion
motion.
for reaffirmation. How long?
I mean, it'd just be the standard 90 day. I mean, they're probably gonna do it within the next month or so, but
Yeah, okay. So we'll just put in 90 days. Very good. Okay, Peter, do I hear a second? Danny? Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Second one is the reaffirmation for the Burn Street Car Wash. Where are we on this? This seems to be dragging on until.
I think we all know where this is. They apparently ran out of time for recording it again. The staff has also notified them on fees that are owed for this project. That has nothing to do with the reaffirmation. They are required to make that payment before we release the plans for recording. So the reaffirmation would just be for the reapproval of the plan. There's no other issues that need to be resolved other than fees, but they'll be collected prior.
Very good. Motion to reaffirm that one.
Okay. Peter? Okay, do I hear a second? Danny? Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the last one is the very interesting one of 625 McKnight Street.
Okay, that plan was previously approved by you. It was also endorsed by the applicant, endorsed by the planning commission members. And was ready to be released for reporting. And that's when I guess there was a change in organization at the parking authority. The plans and the agreements were never,
We just received the agreements.
okay,
with
they were never recorded. We confirmed all that and informed the parking authority that they need to be reaffirmed. Obviously, the time has run out on the allowable time to record it. So this plan will need to be re-recorded. Here's the best part about this, is the site improvements have been completed. Both Tim and I have to do final inspections on it, but everything is fine. They have dedication of the property. So the site improvements are completed and we're looking at going into maintenance for the improvements. So Michelle, the only question I have before we go into the reaffirmation is, do we need the municipal improvements agreement if everything's been completed?
I think they did they bring you a check, Emily?
I have to double check.
Yeah, I think we should proceed since they proceeded without following through.
Okay.
If they did not, what we can consider next month, because I think they also want, because they're asking for a release of credit, aren't they?
Yes, and
Yes.
that was there is nothing to release.
So
We never collected the fee or the amount.
I don't have a concern with reaffirming the plans, but I think in consideration of the, I think what we should do is look to see if we have an escrow. And while you guys conduct the inspection, and then if, at next month's meeting, we can determine if we want to retain a maintenance escrow.
We have it.
You do have the escrow? Okay, so I think what we should do for the May agenda is ask them to submit a request for release of escrow, and we can consider that at the May meeting, but we can go ahead and reaffirm the plan this evening.
Do I hear a motion to reaffirm the plan for 625 McKnight Street? I'll go with Danny. Yeah, I was waiting for Will, actually. And Peter for the second. All right, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Dembowski. Yeah,
Okay, that was.
yeah, that was in today's front page of today's newspaper, actually. I did send out, or right, I sent out the digital
Yeah.
version as a PDF for everyone. If you didn't know Frank, I've known Frank, I knew Frank for almost 20 years. And what they say about him in the newspaper is exactly true. I guess the only thing that they did leave out was that he was an extremely devout Catholic. And very involved with both St. Peter's, where my mother-in-law was a member, and St. Margaret's, where my family is a member. So it's made a lot of important impacts to all kinds of things throughout in his short life. Let's see here. So we got that. Okay. Now I just need to see why Dan's here. Hi, Dan.
Hi, how are you doing? I just wondered if, I guess you, since you didn't publish the agenda, there's nothing on for me.
So,
Well,
Are you following me, Dan?
The only other
are
thing
you waiting
is,
for 2040?
yeah, the 2045 Center Avenue.
Yeah, so that application came in after the deadline, so that'll be on the agenda for next month. It's already been sent to the Berks County Planning Commission.
Okay, that's fine. The other thing is, has anybody done any review of the gentleman wants to open up that easement between the City Hall property and the 8th Street property back to, Cedar Street?
So we have a new facilities manager. It's Felix, I think. So now that we have that kind of squared away with staffing, I guess we would bring it up with him to coordinate that. So I'll get back to you, Dan.
Okay,
Emily-
that'll be
Emily,
great.
do you want to let Felix know about that, Emily? Would you send him an email?
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us, Dan, and,
Well, I'm
So that,
interested in what's going on. I got a lot of little projects, so it's interesting to know
Yeah.
what's going on. So good night, and everybody have a good week.
okay, thank you, Dan.
Thank
Okay,
you.
go ahead, Will.
Thank you. I just wanted to state for the record, as we discussed at the workshop, the reason we did not nominate or elect anyone to the other offices, I think it is secretary and treasurer, is because those offices are obsolete.
Thank you, Will. And next time, Will brought this up to me today, but since Nelson and James are not here today, next month, hopefully we'll all be here. And then we will do like a round robin introduction for the public with what we're up to lately. So with that, our next planning commission meetings are our May 21st, 2024 workshop. Which do we have anything lined up for that?
Yes, we do.
Oh, that's right.
I'm going to miss them.
Oh. And
Michelle Burks thinks you're still on.
Yes, I saw Kim last week and reminded her.
okay, great. And were we able to get a hold of Mr. Batista at the parking authority?
So far not today, but I'm still following up for some help like that. Probably.
Okay, he's probably very, very busy.
I'll definitely just have to find these folks. Just like.
Yeah, I had to do that. They for some reason closed down the drive-through. I love paying my parking tickets through the drive-through rather than going inside.
Also, just wanted to let you know that on May 13th, we will be doing a presentation to City Council on the Phase 1 and 2 amendments as well. This will be basically a Q&A, just to make sure that they're familiar with what that includes. You might as well throw Phase 3 in. But yeah, that's also going to be on the City Council's future agenda.
And then then our regular meeting is May 28th, 2024, and we already know a few things that we'll be dealing with there. Hopefully Castlewood for one thing. And very good. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order? Okay, hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Okay, Peter, and I'll take Danny as the second. Any question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned. Yeah, that's pretty good. 1 hour. I told my.
No problem. I'm gonna hang up now. Bye.
So, yeah,